Have you ever paused to consider the deeper meaning behind your height? At first, it might sound like something trivial, a simple matter of centimeters that we rarely question. But to Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds in psychology, the body itself, its shape, stature, and how we carry it, was never just random. He believed that even something as seemingly physical as your height is intertwined with symbolic forces that shape the very core of who you are. Jung proposed that your height carries more than just biological significance. It acts like a symbolic gateway, revealing essential clues about your psychological makeup, your inner potential, and the hidden dynamics at play in your interactions with the world. It's not about fortune-telling or superstition, but rather a psychological lens that helps us understand the subtle energies and archetypes we embody. Imagine for a moment that understanding the symbolism of your height could unlock hidden aspects of your personality, that it could offer you deeper clarity about your instincts, your confidence, and the way you navigate life's challenges. Sounds like an exaggeration, right? But once we start to look at Jung's theories on archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the interplay between mind and body, this idea begins to feel more real. In this exploration, we're going to dive into Carl Jung's view of the body as a canvas for archetypal energy, specifically, how your height can be a window into your unconscious mind, and how it might subtly shape your personality traits, emotional patterns, and even the spiritual path you walk. But before we begin, if you're someone who values depth, meaning, and true self-discovery, consider subscribing to our channel. We bring you content that challenges surface-level ideas and invites you to dive deeper into the mysteries of who you are and what drives you. By joining us, you become part of a community that grows not through shallow fixes, but through profound inner understanding. So take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear might not only change how you see your height, but also how you view your story, your patterns, and the path you've been walking all along. This isn't about boxing people in. It's about revealing the symbolic patterns already present in your being. Let's begin with one of Jung's central beliefs, that the universe is filled with recurring patterns, what he called archetypes. These archetypes are universal images, energies, and narratives that we see repeated across cultures, myths, and personal stories. They live both outside and inside us. Jung believed that we each carry a unique combination of these archetypes, shaping how we think, feel, and move through the world. What's more, Jung believed that the body itself, like the cycles of nature, mirrors these archetypes. Just as the seasons shift and reveal different energies, our physical stature can also express psychological forces. The solidity of a tall tree reaching towards the sky, the grounded presence of a sturdy oak, the quiet resilience of a plant that grows closer to the earth. Each form reflects a unique archetype. For Jung, your height isn't merely a measurement in centimeters or inches. It's a symbolic imprint. It's how you entered the physical world and how you stand within it, revealing something deeper about your psychological makeup. The way you rise above others or stay closer to the ground, the way you navigate space. These elements shape the emotional and symbolic atmosphere you inhabit. Think about someone whose height is above average. They often carry an energy of expansiveness and visibility. There's a natural tendency to be noticed, to take up space, to command a certain presence in a room. Jung would suggest that such a person may resonate with archetypes of leadership, ambition, and protection. But this also brings a heightened awareness of how they're seen, sometimes feeling the weight of expectations or the need to live up to that stature. Now compare that to someone who is shorter than average. Their relationship with the world often feels more rooted, more inward. Jung would see this as connecting with archetypes of adaptability, quiet strength, and nuanced perception. They may be more attuned to subtle shifts around them, like the difference between the stillness of winter and the gentle movement of spring. These individuals often develop a deep inner resilience and a capacity to influence from a place of calm observation. What Jung found fascinating is that the body is not neutral. It carries a certain rhythm, a mood, and a silent story. And your height, whether towering or humble, acts as a backdrop to this story, subtly shaping your thoughts, your behaviors, and your emotional responses. It doesn't determine your destiny, but it provides a symbolic framework, a personal myth, if you will, that you can use to understand yourself more fully. This symbolic map doesn't tell you what you must do. Rather, it reveals the energies you're likely to encounter within yourself, both the strengths you can rely on and the shadows you're meant to confront. For Jung, self-knowledge is the key to freedom. And part of that self-knowledge comes from understanding the archetypal forces that shape not only your mind, but your body as well. The fascinating part of this idea is that it takes something we often overlook, like our height, and turns it into a powerful tool for introspection. Suddenly, the way you stand in the world isn't just a matter of genetics or chance. It's a doorway, a way to connect with the deeper rhythms of nature, psychology, and the soul. So now we arrive at the real question. What does your height reveal about your soul's journey? Your height, according to Jung's symbolic thinking, can reflect a particular archetype, a timeless inner pattern that lives within all of us but becomes more pronounced in some than in others. Understanding these patterns can explain why you gravitate towards certain roles, why some challenges seem to repeat in your life, and where your natural wisdom lies. In the sections ahead, we'll explore how height, whether tall, average, or short, can reveal the interplay of archetypes in your life. We'll begin by looking at the archetypal energies associated with different statures and how these might resonate within you. But keep in mind, this isn't about fitting into a mold. The archetypes Jung described are not boxes, they're mirrors. They don't limit you. They help you recognize what's already inside you, waiting to be named. So if you're ready to discover how your height might be quietly influencing your choices, your emotions, and your personal growth, then continue with us on this journey. In the next part, we'll begin exploring how the symbolic energies of height manifest, and how they can offer you a deeper understanding of your own path, no matter how tall or grounded you stand. What you find might not only surprise you, but reconnect you to a part of yourself you've long forgotten. Let's begin our journey into the archetypes Jung spoke of, those timeless patterns that live deep in the collective unconscious and quietly shape how we think, feel, and act. In this section, we'll explore how your height might align with one of the most powerful and recognizable archetypes, the guardian. The guardian archetype is often represented in mythology and psychology as the protector, the one who watches over the vulnerable, provides safety, and acts as a stabilizing force in uncertain times. But what does this have to do with height? According to Jungian symbolism, individuals with a tall stature are often unconsciously linked to the guardian archetype. Their physical presence alone carries an energy of watchfulness and authority. Height becomes more than a measurement. It becomes a psychological signal. It silently communicates. I can see further. I can protect. I can hold space. This doesn't mean every tall person is a protector or every short person is not. But the symbolism of height often makes those who are tall more likely to be projected upon. They are seen as leaders, caretakers, or anchors of strength, even if they don't seek those roles. As Jung noted, archetypes are not chosen consciously. They are inherited psychic energies that live through us. So a tall individual might find themselves constantly being looked to for guidance, stability, or leadership, even when they feel unsure inside. If you've ever been described as someone others naturally trust, rely on, or look up to, both figuratively and literally, this could be the guardian energy at play. But with every archetype comes both a light and a shadow. The light side of the guardian archetype is strength, protection, and dependability. These are the people who instinctively hold others together in times of crisis. They walk into a room and give it structure. They are often the emotional center of their families or communities. But the shadow side? It's the quiet burden they carry, the fear of letting people down, the suppression of their own needs to be what others expect them to be, the loneliness that comes from always being the strong one. Carl Jung believed that acknowledging both the light and the shadow is essential for psychological integration. So if you recognize yourself in the guardian archetype, it's not just about embracing your strength. It's also about tending to the parts of you that feel unseen, exhausted, or misjudged. Interestingly, Jung's idea of the body reflecting the psyche is echoed in various cultural traditions. In many tribal societies, the tallest members were given the roles of warriors, sentinels, or protectors, not just because of their strength, but because of the mythic presence their height gave them. In modern times, research even shows that taller individuals are often selected for leadership roles more frequently, not because they are better suited, but because society unconsciously associates height with authority. If you are tall, ask yourself, have I always felt the pressure to perform? Have people assumed I'm more capable, more mature, more stable than I actually felt? Have I learned to suppress my own emotional needs in order to maintain the image others have of me? This is the internal tension of the guardian archetype, the balance between being the strong pillar for others while still acknowledging your own vulnerability. But this archetype doesn't only apply to tall individuals. Even those of average or shorter height can carry guardian energy, though their path may be more about developing presence through action and inner conviction rather than physical projection. Jung believed archetypes could express themselves symbolically, not just physically. A person might be short in stature, but radiate such fierce loyalty and protective strength that their presence feels towering. And here's the transformative insight. Your height may have opened the door to this archetype, but your choices are what allow you to integrate it. Being a guardian isn't just a passive identity, it's a path. It's a journey of developing inner strength, emotional intelligence, and the wisdom to protect without controlling, to hold space without losing oneself. If you resonate with the guardian, consider the following questions. Are you carrying more than your share? Are you protecting others at the cost of your own growth? Are you using your strength to guide or to shield yourself from being seen? Jung taught that true individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself, requires that you bring these unconscious roles to light, not so you can reject them, but so you can consciously choose how you live them. So as you reflect on the guardian within you, remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. Strength isn't about holding everything together. It's about knowing when to let go, when to ask for help, and when to allow others to carry themselves. In the next section, we'll explore another powerful archetype and its connection to height, the seer. Unlike the guardian, the seer represents a quieter, more inward energy. And often, it's those who dwell closer to the ground, literally and symbolically, who carry this mysterious and insightful presence. Are you ready to meet the part of you that sees what others miss? Let's continue. Now let's shift our focus to the seer, the archetype that embodies insight, perception, and quiet wisdom. Where the guardian commands presence and structure, the seer dwells in subtlety, silence, and spiritual depth. In Jungian terms, the seer is often connected with the unconscious realm, particularly the anima, the feminine inner image, and the wise old man archetype. These figures are not defined by action or stature, but by their ability to perceive what lies beneath the surface. The seer sees what others miss, not with the eyes, but with the soul. So how does height intersect with this archetype? Surprisingly, individuals of shorter stature are often unconsciously projected upon as being more thoughtful, introspective, or attuned to emotional nuance. It's not that tall people cannot be seers, but culturally and symbolically, height often correlates with authority, while smaller stature is associated with receptivity and sensitivity. The seer is rarely the loudest in the room. They are the one listening, sensing, observing. Their power does not come from physical presence, but from the intensity of their awareness. Often, these individuals have spent their lives being underestimated, passed over, ignored, or viewed as less dominant. But this very invisibility becomes their advantage. In the shadows, they've learned to see clearly. In stories and myths, the seer appears as the oracle, the healer, the monk on the mountain. Physically unimposing, yet deeply magnetic in presence. Jung believed such figures arise not through external validation, but through deep inner work. And often, it is those who are forced to turn inward by trauma, marginalization, or perceived powerlessness, who cultivate the clearest sight. If you've always felt like an outsider, if you've been described as intuitive or deeply reflective, if your strength lies not in command, but in comprehension, you might resonate with the seer. But just like the guardian, this archetype carries both a light and a shadow. The light of the seer is profound insight, emotional depth, the ability to connect patterns, see truths, and bring clarity to others. But the shadow? Isolation, overthinking, becoming a prisoner of your own mind. The seer may withdraw too far, choosing solitude over connection. Or they may grow bitter, frustrated by a world that doesn't seem to value their vision. Height, again, becomes symbolic. To dwell closer to the earth is not to be less. It is to be nearer to the roots, grounded, connected to the body, the soil, the unseen worlds beneath. The seer archetype reminds us that wisdom is not always found above, but within and below. Jung emphasized that individuation requires us to integrate our archetypes without letting them dominate us. So the seer must learn to speak, to act, to step into visibility when it's needed, and not just observe life, but participate in it. If you resonate with the seer, reflect on these questions. Am I hiding behind observation? Am I withholding my truth because I fear it won't be understood? Have I allowed myself to become too comfortable in the role of the outsider? True power, Jung taught, is the ability to embody opposites. So the seer must learn to hold silence and speech, solitude and connection, vision and action. In the final section, we'll explore what happens when these archetypes, guardian and seer, are integrated. How your height, your psychology, and your presence all come together not to limit you, but to reveal the fullness of who you truly are. So what happens when the guardian and the seer, these seemingly opposite archetypes, are brought together within the same individual? This is the final stage of our journey, and it's where Jung's concept of individuation truly comes to life. Individuation, in Jungian psychology, is not about becoming something new. It is about becoming whole, integrating the unconscious aspects of the self into consciousness, so we no longer live in fragments, but in harmony. And when height, personality, and archetype collide, they offer a potent opportunity for that wholeness to emerge. In most people, one archetype tends to dominate. A tall person might fully embody the guardian, strong, dependable, outwardly confident, while suppressing the inner voice that craves reflection and softness. Meanwhile, someone of smaller stature may be deeply attuned to the seer, perceptive, wise, emotionally nuanced, but struggle to assert their place or claim space in the world. But integration begins the moment we recognize both within us. You may be tall, yet deeply intuitive, or short, yet immensely protective. These combinations are not contradictions. They are invitations. They ask you to explore the parts of yourself you've neglected in order to maintain an identity others expected of you. Let's say you've always been the strong one, the guardian. People come to you with their pain, their confusion, their chaos. You organize, stabilize, lead. But inside, maybe you're tired. Maybe you crave solitude. Maybe you want to stop being the one everyone counts on and just be. This is the seer calling from within. The part of you that longs for stillness, introspection, freedom from performance. Or perhaps you've always been the quiet observer. The seer. You understand people before they speak. You read rooms like open books. But maybe you've held back too long, bitten your tongue, hidden your brilliance, stayed in the background. That ache you feel to step forward, to take up space, to claim your authority? That's the guardian energy rising. Jung believed that true maturity involves moving beyond archetypal possession, when we are unconsciously dominated by an archetype, into conscious embodiment, where we can access many facets of the psyche with awareness and balance. And height, again, becomes symbolic. A tall person who integrates the seer becomes not just a leader, but a wise one. Not just visible, but insightful. They stop performing and start perceiving. Their authority becomes less about dominance and more about grounded vision. A shorter person who integrates the guardian gains assertiveness without abandoning their depth. They speak up not to compete, but to contribute. They walk into rooms not to demand attention, but to stabilize energy. They bring clarity, not noise. This integration is rare, but when it happens, it's transformational. Because a person who can both protect and perceive, lead and listen, speak and stay silent, is a person who lives in balance. Height, then, is no longer a definition. It becomes a doorway, a starting point on a far richer psychological journey. The key is to ask not just, what does my body say about me? But, how have I responded to what others see in me? And what have I hidden in the process? Maybe your height gave you a role early in life. The tall child who had to grow up fast. The small child who was babied or underestimated. But you are not that role anymore. You are not confined to that image. Jung reminds us that we each carry an inner landscape deeper than what others can see. It is up to us to map it. So here are the final questions. Have you mistaken visibility for strength? Have you mistaken silence for wisdom? What part of you has gone unseen, not because others ignored it, but because you did? Integrating your archetypes is not about fixing yourself. It's about seeing yourself fully, so you no longer have to be either slash or, but both slash and. Guardian and Seer. Strength and sensitivity. Presence and perception. Your height may have shaped how the world saw you, but only your awareness can decide what you become next. And that, in Jung's words, is the beginning of true freedom.